Yeah, we solele, 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 oh, awe dio. Solala, 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 oh, awe dio. Tinggalira, tinggalira, tinggalira. Mazikwe, mazikwe. Mazikwe, aweni o repete. Miazolo, miazolo pori, aweni miazolo pori, lepele, miazolo pori, aweni miazolo pori, aweni. Pick where you want throw away. I've been a long time go be. I've been a lawyer, you don't know. They're picking where you want throw away. You don't know where it go be. I've been a lawyer, you don't know. I go tell your mama, I go tell your papa, I go tell them say, you be waka baby, hara baby. Baby, sango baby, waka baby, ako baby sawale, sawale, asho.
Okay, good morning everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm inviting the people who's at the back, maybe if we can gather together here so we get closer to the presenters. So all invited to come here closer. Welcome to the Water and Youth Track session. Today we're having a group of 6 panelists and our chair. We have 3 panelists, presenters that are on remote. So very welcome here to have this session on discussing how to integrate GEO and youth initiatives to promote the use of Earth observation data for water management from the young perspective. So very welcome here. We have Albert DiGarmo here. He works in international affairs at NOAA, and he's been Secretariat of AmeriGeo for the last 4 years. So he's gonna be our chair today. So welcome, Albert. And yeah, please enjoy the session.
Thank you all. And it's an honor to be here moderating and chairing this session today at the 2nd annual Youth Track for the Group on Earth Observations. I was very excited to receive the invitation to help facilitate this exciting discussion with a group of really energized and invigorated youth professionals that are working in our community to address water and sustainability. So first, I wanted to just thank a few individuals, obviously the Ghanaian government and the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, the local organizing committee, the GEO Secretariat, and obviously the Youth Community of Practice for GEO for organizing and facilitating this discussion. I think it's an amazing development that we're seeing the GEO community open up for a specific line and discussion around how we are engaging the end users and practitioners for tomorrow. So this Youth Community of Practice is a welcome addition, and I know I can speak for myself personally that I'm very excited to see the youth track continuing in this year's plenary. And so, as was mentioned, my name's Albert DiGarmo. If you see me running around, feel free to call me AJ. I am the International Relations Specialist with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in the United States. And it has been my pleasure to support our engagement with the regional activity AmeriGeo for the last 4 years as their secretariat. and is something that we hope that we can leverage and bridge among our various regional geos to further strengthen activities, and obviously in this case specifically our water activities. And so with further ado, I wanted to give a little bit of description of what we're going to be discussing today. So as everyone is here is aware, water is at the core of sustainable development. Access to sufficient quantity and quality of water is fundamental for human well-being, socioeconomic development, the preservation of healthy ecosystems, and to moderate climate change. This session will focus on how the work of GEO through its member states, participating organization, and work program activities converge with youth initiatives around water issues. This session will cover scientific and policy-related efforts taken by key actors to involve young people in activities linked to water. It will focus on capturing the diversity of views from young professionals on the evolution of GEO beyond 2025 to address water problems. Now, enough for me. Let me introduce the real stars of this panel, the individuals sitting up on stage and those joining us online. So first we have Igor Chernov, who is a project officer at the World Meteorological Organization. We have Maria Goret Nabombo, who is a project manager of land surveyor and GIS specialist of OpenStreetMapping Uganda. We have Oscar Beltran, who is joining us remotely, is a technical focal point for GEO Initiative Group on Earth Observations for Colombia. And we have Claudia Coloni, who is a research associate at SEI Latin America and a visiting scholar at Lanarkar College, University of Oxford. We also have Igor Agashwara, a postdoctoral research at IGBN Lebanese Institute for co-chair of the Working Group on Observation and Data for GeoAquaWatch. And then we also have Fifi Adodo, who has a master in physical oceanography and applications and a doctorate in glaciology. And so I will first introduce a little bit more detailed than panelists, our first panelist, Igor Chernov. Igor is an environmental science professional. He works on implementing projects that advance interoperable water data sharing across international borders. As the WMO Hydro Hub project officer, Igor is responsible for the development and delivery of the distance learning courses, the WMO Global Hydrology Survey, and numerous technical webinars and workshops. He's also a member of the Technical Advisory Committee of the World Water Quality Alliance. Prior to joining WMO, Igor graduated as an engineer in Russia and worked in thermodynamics research. And actually, I found this next one interesting, and I would ask, maybe he shows off his talents here at the end, but he also graduated as an opera singer, and he performed in Lionel Opera House. So maybe if you guys can give him a warm round of applause afterwards, we can hear a little bit of singing. And after this experience, Igor turned his professional career towards sustainable water management by graduating from the University of Geneva with a master's degree in environmental science and working as a consultant for the Global Water Partnership. So please help me welcome Igor to the stage.
Thank you very much, Albert, for the introduction. And good day, everyone. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the GEO to invite me to be part of this event and its different side events, and as well as the people and the government of Ghana for such great welcome. Yeah, I will present on the youth engagement through the WMO Hydro Hub and Unify. So first of all, did you know that in many parts of the world, more people have access to mobile device than to the running water? So I would like to invite you to use these devices, and we will have some poll covering during my presentation. So here is a QR code that you can scan from your telephone or go to the website www.menti.com and enter the code 33882032. The website address and code is also available on the top of the slide. So please connect. I will wait just a few seconds. So the first question, what is your age? Let's see who joins this session. So we have 26 to 35. We kind of, I heard that youth is considered under 35. Actually, it's my last chance to represent youth. I'm 34. So great. So we have well balance between the youth and the people above the 35. My next question is about what comes to your mind when we talk about water monitoring, just in one word, 1 or 2 words. Safety, pollution, flooding, sustainability, scarcity, safety, quality, uncertainty, life, joy, pollution, very nice, quality a lot, flooding and availability. So yes, water monitoring, it's actually to monitor the state of water bodies and regarding its quantity and quality. Thank you. So WMO Hydro Hub, the project I'm working for, it's the Global Hydrometry Support Facility. So it aims at improving water quantity and quality monitoring around the world and do it through the increased capacity, operationalized innovation and optimized engagements. There is several activities we are carrying out in different countries, but I would like to highlight training and learning exchanges and innovation workshops and calls. It's to find the new solutions, new approaches for water monitoring and implement them directly on the ground, especially in developing countries. So, from my point of view, what challenges to solve regarding the youth engagement? It's, from my point of view, it's first to increase the visibility and connectivity to young professionals and startups. The second is to increase the involvement of youth organizations, foundations in the design and implementation of the projects. And third, it's to increase knowledge, motivation, and continuous engagement of youth in water monitoring. So some of the examples that I just put as a forward of solutions to these challenges, it's for sure, it's first of all the appropriate and targeted communication, and it's regarding network, appropriate content and channels. Dedicated events, it's organization of the events, but also participation in events. Not only youth participation, but also participation of different projects, representation in the youth events, so the youth is aware of what is going on. Proposals with clear objectives and defined added value for the youth component in the projects. Necessary partnerships and dedicated events and knowledge sharing. So, in regard to the targeted youth communication, what comes to your mind? What do you associate with the effective youth targeted communication? Please, if you can just write 1 or 2 words. Yeah, we can see training. There is some brainstorming going on, so we will respect the time. Purpose, mentoring, innovation. I very agree with the word innovation. Assistance. Participation, inclusion, local engagement, yeah, there is a lot of very phone, it's very good point, and I think it's, what is the point here? It's that the youth doesn't have the main channels that we have to reach to them on. So this is very, very important to take in mind. visual, interactive. Very good points. Thank you very much. So, in regard to the what is our engagement in youth, we just carried out a WMO Hydro Hub Youth Symposium that was with two main objectives. First, it's raise awareness among youth about three things. It's sustainable water resources management and the role of youth, role of water monitoring, and crowdsourcing in career perspective in the field of water. The second is to define youth statements from the youth to be used as a contribution to youth inputs at the upcoming big UN events like the UN 2023 Water Conference, COI 17 COP27, and the UN Water Summit on Groundwater 2022. There was around 270 participants joined, as you see, from all around the world. A lot of participation from Africa, and it was mostly young professionals under the 35 years old, and it was very balanced between employed university student, PhD, and main expertise was of water. There is the youth statements that are available online, so you can see it on the website. But I would like to highlight some of them. One, it's on the youth engagement in crowdsourcing and citizen science. So youth statements, it's inform youth on water-related topics and local water challenges, and communicate how they can contribute to address these challenges through participating in citizen science projects. In the youth role in innovation, so it's build startup ecosystems and enhance partnerships between academia and private sector entrepreneurs to ensure more research projects are transformed into action. We had also the panel during the symposium that was between the UNIFY, World Youth Parliament for Water, Global Groundwater Youth Network of UNESCO, the International Water Association, and Youth Loves Egypt Foundation. So this is one of the main foundations, youth foundations, organizations who are moving the water agenda forward from the youth perspective. The important here, I will not read, but they are all answered the question how their network is contributing to sustainable water resources. And here the message is really, there is a main players that are guiding and working on many activities regarding the youth, and I think it's very important that youth is aware of this and they join these networks based on their needs. We had also the true project presented. It was on crowdsourcing and citizen science. So it's and the take-home messages here was the valuable data can be collected by citizens with a smartphone app. Citizen science projects help raise people's awareness regarding water-related topics, and surprising connections and discussions and new projects. For your information, citizen science, it's really inviting the citizens and young people as well to collect the water quantity or quality data and send it to the governmental agencies in order to contribute to the sustainable water management. And the interesting thing that was we asked this project to give the list actually of what they know, what projects are existing in the world, and you see some of them on the slide with the links. But many people are not aware that in their countries there is a lot of projects going on, and the citizens and young people or students and young professionals can contribute and can act. And here I have a question for you. So would you like to be engaged in citizen science projects if it's available in your country? So it's anonymous, yes. It's great to see such motivation. Oh, one, no. Perfect, so we have 14 years. So I have a following question for you. Will you search for and contact the project that is interesting to you in order to participate in it? Very good. This is very important because very often we ask a question, would you like? And we don't know what's coming after. So please, if you answer yes, I really encourage you to search for such project in your country. It's a really great activity. It's contributing to the water resources management, but also to raising awareness about the issues of water. Yeah, what are our next steps from the youth engagement? So first, we will reach out target communication to young professionals and startups, especially on the innovation calls and workshops. Offer face-to-face and distance learning trainings, including for young professionals. Involve youth organizations, foundations, where possible, in the design and or implementation of the projects. One thing that we are planning to set up a prize-based challenge to the global Fab Lab community. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a very cool thing, and it's actually Fab Lab is a place for learning and innovation, and provide access to the environment, the skills, the materials, so you can have a photo on the right, and advanced technology to allow anyone, anywhere, to make almost everything. So currently about 2,000 verified Fab Labs worldwide, and currently about 60,000 users. So if you are interested in, please learn and you can join. It's a very nice activities. And also run an Open 17 challenge. So I think it's all. And now I would like also to present the Unify on behalf of my colleague Jan Guillermo, who is leading this. So Unify is the official youth constituency of the Water and Climate Coalition, where young people are empowered and provided the opportunity to explore and design fundamental ideas for organizing bottom-up challenge. So there is two parts of the Unify. There is movement and the festival. The movement is established to ensure that youth is represented at all decision-making processes of the World and Climate Coalition and other relevant events, and mandated to consolidate youth inputs for the 23 UN Water Conference. So what are the challenges that Unify working on? So it's lack of direction and common plan among youth organizations and implementing agencies, the global data and impact inventory of youth projects, programs, and activities, and the third one is the hub platform and technical knowledge to collaborate among private stakeholders and government instrumentalities. The methodology they use, it's quite simple. So it's from streets to the table to action. So youth that is responsive more than being reactive. So they're really starting with very active participation, but they go to the table, they plan, and they develop the plan and implement this on the ground. Yeah, they carried out this survey, and it's very interesting. Among thousands of young people participated in this survey, and it's about youth interest in the topics. And you see that environment, a high interest, and the international relations, legal, it's very down. And the highest is sport, recreation, education, and training. So we need to think how we target our communication to youth, maybe to combine it with the sports, even when we're talking about environment. So this is a very interesting findings. So there is a water and climate youth development plan and agenda being developed by Unify, and it serves to consolidate youth inputs to the UN 2023 Water Conference. You can learn again about this on the Unify website. So they're also developing the app to address the opportunities for young people. So each person registered will have its own profile, and you will have different opportunities regarding training, conferences regarding to youth from different organizations around the world. But for more details, you can also learn it from the Unify website. So if you would like to follow and join the Unify, you can scan this QR code or go to the link given here. But I think the presentation will be shared, so you will have the opportunity later. And my last slide is, there is as a member of the World Water Climate Quality Alliance, I would like to share with you that there is upcoming workshop, I think it's in end of November, and it's organized by the Social Engagement Workstream and the Youth Action for the World Water Quality Workstream of the Alliance. And it will be discuss the role of the citizen science. So if you're able to join, there is online, it's a hybrid event, so you can join online. So thank you very much, and yeah, any questions after the session, I think. Back to you, Albert.
Thank you. I think that what really resonated with me from that presentation is that our community, the youth community of practice, needs to be our own fiercest advocates when we're arguing and justifying for our seat at the table and for the making ourselves part of the decision-making process. So I know you said that this is your last official time you can join the youth community practice, but I really hope that you join us as a eventually, I don't know what you would say to young person, I guess, experienced professional, to continue that conversation, continue being an advocate. We're going to take questions at the end, so everyone, we will be collecting those for the end for the discussion, but we'll try to get through the next one. So Maria Goret is a recent graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Geomatics Engineering from Deje University. She's a practicing land surveyor and project lead affiliated with OpenStreetMap Uganda. She's leading a community action impact project where she's using GIS to improve access to water and sanitation facilities in Kampala's informal settlements. Maria is a Community Action Award winner awarded by the Aspire Institute. So without further ado, Maria.
Thank you so much, Albert. I'm so honored and privileged to be here. Thank you so much, Geo, for organizing. Thank you, Accra, Ghana, for hosting us. Yes, as Albert has mentioned, I'm a Community Action Award winner by the Aspire Institute. I'm going to be presenting about the Community Action Impact Project that I've been conducting, which is entitled Improving Access to Water and Sanitation Facilities in the Informal Settlements of Kampala, Making Use of Geographic Information Systems. Yes, water and sanitation are essential for life and dignity, but they're also essential for human well-being, empowerment of people, and poor sanitation and hygiene and unequal access to water facilities has affected people's ways of living. It has exposed people to deadly diseases like cholera, dysentery, diarrhea, among others. 15,000 children under 5 years in Kampala's informal settlements die annually from diarrhea due to the poor sanitation and unequal access to water and sanitation facilities. And despite the efforts of government, these conditions have scarcely improved, whereby only 3 in 10 people have access to basic water supply, and only 6% have access to sanitation facilities. And furthermore, women are the most affected since they always take care of the households. They suffer the burden of collecting water from far places and at night, risking sexual and physical violences. Yes, to improve access to water and sanitation facilities in these areas, urban authorities require reliable geographic information to be able to make evidence-based decisions and prioritize communities with the greatest needs. It is from this that we propose to collect geospatial data of the water and sanitation facilities in these areas, analyze it, and share the results with the stakeholders for these 2 major areas in Nakawa Division, which are the largest slums in the area. So we analyze the data to determine which water facilities need upgrading, which sanitation facilities need upgrading, and where should new sanitation and water facilities be established, and why in those areas. So the project consisted of various stages, whereby we began with stakeholder engagements, developed monitoring and evaluation frameworks, and then identified and trained volunteers from the communities to work with, then did data collection. The project staff came in to do the data analysis, and various products were produced, including web maps, static maps, and dashboards, and then sharing of the results to the key stakeholders, the decision makers in these areas, and also ensuring the construction of water facilities in the areas that were identified to have inadequate access. Beginning with the stakeholder engagements that we conducted with the city authorities and also settlement leaders of these areas, we aimed at creating collaboration and buy-in and support for the project activities. From the settlement leaders, we were informed of some of the information that would be relevant to them to act and also to be able to advocate for services in their areas. And with the various collaborations and partnerships that we did with various organizations, we focused more on organizations that are working on the slum upgrading initiatives. We also focused on organizations that are in the water and sanitation sector, and also humanitarian agencies that have worked in these areas. We wanted to learn of their work that they have been doing in these communities, and also learn on how best we can make our work relevant in their different interventions that they do. With the help of the local leaders, we managed to identify community members we worked with. Community members basically included in the women and youth that we trained on the use of data collection tools like Survey 123 and then the OSM, and that would enable them to trace their movements as they are moving along in the field. We aimed at also equipping them with technical skills, developing their technical capacity such that they develop their technical and digital skills, and also be able to collect geospatial data by using of mobile applications. We also trained them on the use of the hot tasking manager, working on the OpenStreetMap platform, where they were able to digitize buildings and roads in their areas, and they were able to contribute to the creation of geospatial data for their communities. We worked with them and making use of satellite imagery and their local knowledge. They were able to delineate out the land uses for their areas, including the commercial, the residential areas, and the team moved further, and they began collecting data, making use of their mobile devices, collecting data on both water and sanitation facilities, taking into consideration the qualitative and quantitative data where they collected GPS coordinates. They collected conditions of these facilities, the ownership of the facilities, the affordability, and also took geotagged photos. And the team were able to do a quality assurance on the data that was collected and that was remotely mapped, whereby we moved on to the field again, and with the help of the community members themselves and with the local leaders, a data validation exercise was conducted where leaders had to bring in their knowledge of some of the facilities that they know in their area. We sampled out public facilities mainly, and the status of these facilities was updated. The validation was aimed to ensure that the data that is to be shared and uploaded on the OpenStreetMap platform was a true representation of what is exactly on the ground. And from all these activities that we did, we managed to come up with various products that included the static maps. These static maps showed the statuses of the facilities in these areas, and we came up with web maps as well that showed the status and also dashboards that showed all the facilities in these areas. We moved on further to do data sharing, where we shared the maps with the leaders, the settlement leaders, in all the different areas and communities. The leaders came to appreciate the value of geospatial data, and we were empowering them to make use of geospatial information in their work, in their advocacy sessions, and also as they are reaching out to various organizations and agencies. By making use of evidence-based information, they can easily back up the information that they are addressing to these people. Yes, we moved further to the different organizations and city authorities, division leaders as well, and presented some of the findings from the project. With the focus of the city authorities, we addressed most of the community priorities, most of the community issues that were addressed from our various engagements with the leaders. And we aimed at bridging the gap between the city plans that are created by them and also the community priorities that are always addressed from the people themselves. And from our work, we did an analysis. The analysis was aimed at allocating and showing areas that have inadequate access to water. We made use of the MOLD criteria decision-making analysis tool, where we considered a criteria of population, we looked at the topography, we looked at the distance to the main pipelines, we looked at the household's income, different factors that can actually enable you to combine with the different data that you collected from the field to come up with a detailed and concrete map that shows areas that are at risk of water shortage. And from our analysis, we came up with areas that are most affected with water inadequacy and those ones that are least affected. And during our presentation of results to National Water and Sewage Corporation, we managed to get support from them, and water facilities are currently being constructed in areas that were identified to have inadequate access of water in these informal settlements. So bringing out the fact that science and policy are actually very crucial for the development of any community. Here are a few links to some of the products that we produced. You can connect with me on my LinkedIn channel, Maria Goretti Nabwembo. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for that presentation. I think it was the perfect complement to our introductory presentation, since we saw in practice in those pictures the individuals in the youth community actively engaging with leaders. So thank you for your efforts for transitioning those energy from the streets to all the way to the action decision table. Next, we'll be going to our first remote presenter, Oscar Beltran. Oscar is a cadastral and geodesy engineer, specialist in project management and applied science. He has worked in the use of GNSS and topographic technologies, satellite and aerial imagery processing. He is the coordinator of the Environmental Information Systems at the Institute of Hydrology, Meteorology, and Environmental Studies, IDM, and consultant of the Terrestrial Observation Group at the Colombian Space Commission and the technical focal point for GEO in Colombia. Oscar, are you with us?
Good day for all. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Okay. Could you share the slides, please? I can't. The host is disabled the function to share the screen, so Could you share it?
Give us 1 second. I think we're just pulling it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your assistance. As Albert Min, I'm Daniel Beltran, technical point for GeoColombia. I'm pleased to share this space called Enrichment of Experiences for Socio-Environmental Development. Next, please. Let's start with a bit of our institution. The next slide, please. IDEAM is a public institution that provides technical and scientific support to the national environmental system. We are in charge of managing the national hydrological and meteorological network, generating early warnings and modeling for various atmospheric phenomena and such fires, landslides, floods, hurricanes, etc. Additionally, we carry out environmental studies on ecosystems, soils, forests, water supply and demand, among others. Next slide, please. We are located here in the north of South America, very close to Brazil, Venezuela, Peru, Ecuador, and Panama. The way our institute works in the government is as follows. The President of the Republic has an environmental policy office called Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development. Additionally, it has a technical scientific commission on space affairs called the Colombian Space Commission. IDEAM is involved in both. It's a technical advisor and technical executor at the national level. The relationship with GEO is directly through its flagships and initiatives, as well as through AmeriGeo, or Regional Air Observations Community, and its working groups. Okay, next. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Next slide, please. What happened? Please, no, back. Probably 2 slides back. Over. Okay. IDEAM has been incorporated into GEO since 2011, although its activities are related to the initiatives several years ago. In 2016, Colombia hosted the AmeriGeo Caucus, including applied Earth observations workshops on areas of social benefits such as disasters, water, biodiversity, and agriculture. Currently, in 2022, it has been possible to link various national, local, and public and private entities to the initiatives through the testing, implementation, and calls for proposals for flagships and initiatives. Additionally, we have a portal that enables the dissemination of geoactivities, such as calls for proposals, trainings, events. This also allows interested parties to subscribe to periodically receive these announcements. Next slide, please. From our nation, official space and scientific information is shared openly through our national open data portal. which follows international standards for its documentation and exchange, for example, OGC, which have been linked to search portals such as AmeriGeo Hub and GeoPortal. Next slide, please. Some of the experience exchanged with GEO initiatives are shown below. GeoBon with our Alexander von Humboldt Biodiversity Institute, providing concepts for the definition of essential biodiversity variables, strengthening the network of biodiversity observers. The John Scientist is linked there, and the development of the online toolbox One in a Box. The GeoGlam propose a pilot project for pasture monitoring with our agricultural research entity called AgroSavia, an approach to formulate the implementation of crop monitor with other entity called UPRA, is the agriculture planning entity. About the GFOI, GFOI, it's an experience to exchange of concepts and implementation of methodology for deforestation monitoring through terrestrial observations. About the GeoGlows, it supports the implementation of methods and technologies for water modeling, such as Fuse system and HydroServer. The next slide, please. The GeoNetCast system is implemented by universities and local entities with the support of students and the academic community as a tool for accessing for terrestrial observation data, as support for emergencies or disasters. And finally, link and use of the Universal Disaster Charter through the training and registration of the National Disaster Management Entity. Next slide, please. Next, please. Okay, next slide. Below is a table that summarizes the relationship and participation of Colombia with GEO projects, which involve various areas of interest and thus the exchange of experiences with all levels of proposals, such flagships, initiatives, community activities, and the implementation of proposals in the cloud. Many of them is led by young scientists and their point of view. Next slide, please. An example of this is the experience with GeoGlows, with the implementation of the Fuse system for flow monitoring. Next slide, please. Strengthening the opportunity and access to data from our national hydrological network, as well as enable improvements and capacities in hydrological modeling, which also allow prevention to more timely and accurate disasters due to floods and rise and surge. These actions allow mutual and complementary support between entities and action mechanisms in extreme disaster events, such as those activated through the International Disaster Charter. Next slide, please. The relationship with young scientists involves the participation of their ideas and points of view through various scenarios, such as events, hackathons, university internships, university and school recognition visits of the scientific process in our institutions, the training for new professionals, and in our case in IDEA as forecasters, and link with the modeling and early warnings on events such wildfires, landslides, hurricanes, floods. They participate in our groups working groups and research groups like water quality, glacier monitoring, link it with link the incubation of ideas through our institutional research groups. Next slide, please. Our expectations for the new GEO roadmap involve the following. How should efforts be conducted? Increase the capacities of knowledge, access to technology and data, opportunity to generate information for decision making. What is the solution being implemented, designed, or needed? Several have been initiated and executed as shown in the initiatives. Most of them point to are associated with climate change. It's a mainly topic for our society and our institutions. What are the key enablers of achieving success in the desired solution? Financial and collaborative implementation as mainly, which enables the sustainability of financial and human resources. Actions such as collaboration and constant monitoring allows an effective exchange of knowledge. About the partnerships, it's necessary to go to scientific peers and count with administrative entities that facilitate the contracted processes. It sometimes took a long time, a couple of months, that maybe lack the actions, as well as the open availability of data on platforms such Amerigeo, GeoSur, Geos, GeoPortal, etc. Next slide, please. How has the FORD benefit from advocacy and communications? These associations have made possible to provide timely information, as well as to promote a rigorous and quality culture in our institutions that enables the recognition and good name of the institutions, thus facilitating contact and the exchange of more experience with more scientific. Why GEO? See the initiatives exposed below. Gaps and needs. It should be interesting to continue training to promote the scientists of tomorrow. Many of the users are in the early stage of their professional lives, who, with the right guidance, can direct science of the future. It's important today reduce language barriers, since many of the senior scientists and entities that can contribute do not have the confidence and security to adequately transmit their knowledge, this being a blocker yet for the enrichment of experiences. Share a knowledge conservation strategy, it will be good, and it is way about the leakage and land loss, the knowledge, due to the lack of guarantees and the sustainability of the knowledge. Gaps between what is required and what is willing to be offered, it would be appropriate to address a standard strategy that allows a clear and concise presentation of the panorama of needs, and they will meet them and well to address them. Democratization exercise for Earth observation knowledge. It's a good example of how we will increase the exchange of experience, technology, and vital data to foster knowledge development. Some examples about it, it's Amazon Web Services, Google Earth Engine, or Planetary Lab of Microsoft, etc. And intergenerational digital literacy, it's important to to focus the efforts and avoid the fourth revolution. Thank you for your time and assistance. And thank you to our caucus, the Americas, Angelica and Albert. And thanks for Liliana. Continue to enjoy the Geo Week 2022.
Thank you, Oscar, for that great presentation. I see from one of your last slides, the gaps and needs. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm confident in that the people in this room will be the ones to help address some of those gaps and needs through the GEO community. So next we'll go to our next virtual presentation from Igor Agashwara, who has a Bachelor of Science degree in Geography from São Paulo State University, a Master's in Science degree in Remote Sensing from Brazilian National Institute for Space Research, and a PhD in Applied Earth Sciences from Indiana University. He is a postdoctoral researcher at the Lebanese Institute for Freshwater Sensing and Natural Resources, particularly water resources. He is also the co-chair of the Working Group on Observations and Data for GeoAquaWatch, and together with other young scientists, they established an early career society within GeoAquaWatch. He is involved in the early career working group of the Brazilian Association of Limnology and the European Horizon 2020 project WaterForce, which is developing a roadmap for the future Copernicus water products. Igor, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. I'm not sure if you can hear me right.
Yes, we can hear you. Over to you.
Yeah, I cannot screen share. So you have to allow me to share my screen. Okay, I think someone is sharing it for me. So thank you so much, Albert, for the nice introduction. So my name is Igor, and today I will talk about a little bit of Earth observations, water quality, and the youth. You can go to the next one, please. So we start my talking about a little bit of the SDG 6 on clean water and sanitation, where the goal is to promote universal access to drinking water, to improve water quality and reduce pollution, to protect and preserve water-related ecosystems, increase water use and efficient across all sectors, and to promote universal and affordable access to sanitation and hygiene. I will focus more on the water quality part, and to do that, I will use the two results from the synthesis report from 2018 of this SDG 6. Can go to the next one, please? So the first result is this map where we can see countries in blue, countries in yellow, and countries in white. And this map is showing where the population have access to drinking water. And what calls our attention here is the number of countries in white. So those countries in white is where we have insufficient data or no data, while the countries in blue are the ones where population has access to drinking water. And if we take a geographical look on this, most of the countries in blue are located in the northern hemisphere, while the countries in white are mostly located in the southeast hemisphere. Next slide, please. The second result that I want to show is this integrated water resource management implementation. And we can see that very few countries have a high or very high implementation of integrated water resource management. So most of the ones with high and very high are in Europe or China and Australia, while most of the other countries are in medium to low rates of the implementation. The next one, please. So based on these two results, we can see that Earth observations can support the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and focusing more on the SDG 6, Earth observations can be used to collect data and to be used as a tool for the integrated water resource management. So we can help with these two results and improve the number of data, especially in the countries where we were seeing white as insufficient data, and to be used more operational as a tool for water resource management. Next one, please. So when we are thinking about water supply, most of the water that we use, the population use, comes from inland water. So inland water, we have lakes, we have rivers, we have reservoirs, and those are the ones that most of the people use for water supply. And when we think about Earth observations, the Earth observations of inland water, especially inland water quality, is still very recently. So it's something that we are still developing. So we are still developing products, we are still developing algorithms. So it's a very new science. You can go to the next one, please. When we take a look on the number of scientific publications and citations of these works, based on a database like the Web of Science database, we can see that most of the work or most of the research has been done in the last 10 years. So this is a very new and young field, especially for Earth observations. So also very new applications of Earth observations to monitor water quality. And that happens especially because of the new satellite sensors that have been developed in the last 10 years. And this is also something that most of the people working in this field are young scientists, are youth, or as Igor mentioned in the first talk, it's below 35 years old. Next slide, please. So here in Europe, we have this 80-20-20 project called WaterForce, which stands for Water Scenarios for Copernicus Exploitation. In this project, we are evaluating and creating a roadmap for Copernicus water products. In this case, we are including water quality as well as water quantity. And we are evaluating the past, the present, and we are thinking what are the future for Copernicus products for water. In terms of water quality, we ran a survey last year asking remote sensing people what are in situ data that is missing, or what kind of data is abundant or not abundant when we are trying to relate to Earth observations. And for transparency, water transparency, there is abundant data for most of the people. Chlorophyll A, there is some, but if you see most of the water quality parameters that people like to see from Earth observations, we do not even have a lot of data in situ. Next slide, please. In order to try to create a community on the use of remote sensing for water quality, we have AquaWatch. And AquaWatch is especially focused mostly on coastal and inland waters, but we also cover a little bit of water quality in the ocean. And next one, please. And within AquaWatch, we decided to launch an early career society. So in this figure here is a meeting that happened 2 weeks ago. That was our meeting for launching the Early Career Society. And the Early Career Society within AquaWatch came up within our biennial meeting in the beginning of this year, where many grad students came to us and they are asking us for tutoring, for mentoring, for resources, references. So because of this area is very new, a lot of people do not know where to trust or where to find trustful information, and then they were coming to us. And then we decided that, yeah, we need early career society, especially where peers, early career peers can share information with others. Next slide, please. So our Early Career Society within AquaWatch has 6 goals. One is to provide professional development and leadership opportunities. The leadership is within AquaWatch. So nowadays, every working group has a co-leadership, and where one of the co-chairs is an early career researcher. GoTo is offers stage, especially for low-income countries or not representative countries, to extent practicable, so align with GeoSec Youth Alliance. We have a very good collaboration with the ASO Early Career Committee. So the ASO Early Career Chair was our plenary speaker during our biannual meeting and showed us how Oslo Early Career Society is developing well and how we could make it at GeoAquat as well. To diversify and enhance peer networking, so we need to create more projects, more engagements, and interacting between the early career members. Facilitate career-long mentorship. That was the one that most of the people wanted. They need someone to tutor them, to mentor them during their studies. And engage activities with students and youth, especially also was mentioned in the first talk, involves citizen science, especially with children. Next slide, please. So within Geo, we also have GeoBlue Planet, and both GeoAquat and GeoBlue Planet are covering water topics. And working together, we can improve how Earth observations can be used to help SDG 6. One example of this is the working group on eutrophication, which is hosted by GeoBlue Planet, but a lot of members from GeoAquat is also part of this working group. So we are working on the eutrophication problem, which is a water quality problem in coastal waters. So this is a nice collaboration among different geo organizations and how we can support the SDG. Next one, please. So to finalize my talk, I would like to highlight some of the main challenges in Earth observations of water quality. And these are things that many other geo organizations or even especially GeoAquat and GeoBlue Planet can help us to face this challenge. One is the lack of calibration and validation data. In this case, especially for inland waters, where we have a very big diversity of optical water types. And the validation data is a problem because a lot of people and a lot of countries collect water quality data, but they do not match up with satellite passages. So sometimes we have water quality data, but we do not have any satellite imaging. So this is a problem that we need to solve, trying to talk to the states and asking them to highlight the need to collect data when satellites are passing. Funding for data collection is important, as well as funding for equipment. So another point is to collect radiometric data. So radiometric data is essential for water quality because we need to validate the atmospheric correction. So we need funding for spectroradiometers so we can collect the reflectance of the water and then we can adjust better atmospheric corrections. Sensor development improved a lot in the last 10 years, but we still need more spectral bands to generate more products. So the future hyperspectral missions we are really waiting for those hyperspectral missions. Training is really important because this is a very new field. Knowledge are being generated a lot, and we need training to help and resources to help all the young people to be more familiar with this more products that we are developing. And next slide, please. And with this, I would like to thank you the opportunity to talk to you about our society, about the work on water quality. And I hope to answer your questions during the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for that great presentation. It's amazing to see that when a community comes together and sees the need for youth engagement, that they can be empowered by themselves and form that own community, as we just saw in AquaWatch. Next, we'll go to our next virtual presentation, Claudia Coloni, and she is an environmental manager and researcher in water resource management and environmental governance. Claudia holds an MBA in data science from the University of Sao Paulo, and a master's in water science, policy, and management from the University of Oxford. She is a research associate at SEI Latin America and a visiting scholar at Linacre College, University of Oxford. She has been awarded with Germany's Green Talents Program, and she is conducting a research on water governance in partnership with the Technical University of Munich. At SEI, Claudia provides technical and scientific support in implementing strategies and projects related to water governance, participatory and decision-making processes, and watershed planning and mainstreaming gender and social equity in water management in Bolivia, Colombia, and the Mekong Basin in Southeast Asia. Claudia, are you online?
Yes, I am. Can you confirm that you hear me well?
Perfect. Slides are up. It's over to you.
Thank you so much. First, I'd like to start off by thanking Geo for inviting me. Actually, it's the first time that I'm connected with the Geo community, so I'm looking forward to strengthening our partnership, and also thank my colleague Nils Esquivel, who couldn't be participating today, but I'm going to be presenting some work that I do at the Stockholm Environment Institute. And today I'll present on a particular project that was the result of my MBA on data science, as well as an initiative called Water Beyond Boundaries. So particularly I will talk about mapping global coffee trade flows and how that can be related to water teleconnections with the case study in Colombia. Next slide, please. Since these slides have some animations, maybe if you can run through all the animations, I think it will be better as I speak. So firstly, I'd like to provide with some background in terms of water management. We generally adopt the watershed as the unit of management. You can come across similar terminologies such as catchment and river basin. But essentially, what we're looking in terms of water management, if you can pass the other animation, and again, please. There are still some other animations coming up, yes. So basically, we're talking about a matter of scale in terms of analysis of social environmental processes. So if you look at the y-axis, from the spatial scale perspective, you can go from global to an individual level. And as I mentioned, the watershed is one of the approaches that you can adopt. And then at the time scale, you can analyze an event that's happening every hour or an event that's happening across the decades, for instance, climate change. And there are many different approaches to tackle these problems. So Igor, for instance, was mentioning integrated water resources management, or IWRM, which is a particular target within SDG 6. But you can find other examples as well, such as nature-based solutions, virtual water, water security, etc. Next, please. One more. Yes, one back, please. Just so I would just want to show 3 points that were in the previous slide. We are tackling 3 main points here in our initiative at the Stockholm Environment Institute: teleconnections, early ecosystem consideration, and participation across water management. I don't know how many of you have heard about the concept of teleconnections, but we're adopting it as our analytical framework. Basically, because when we're talking about multi-scale issues, we're more interested in a process-based approach rather than a place-based unit of analysis. So I'll just give you one example for water. Say that we have a place 1 that we call here and a place 2 that we call there. And initially, they may seem not connected. But if you click again, please, on this slide. One more? Yes, great. But if, one back please, just to mention the example. We may connect place 1 with place 2 if we analyze a global process such as trade of agricultural commodities, in this case coffee, and we may think of a structure or a substance such as water that will be connecting these processes, especially those that are reliant on water, generating global trade flows that are going beyond the point of origin. So this is one example of teleconnections, and you can think of many other drivers globally. Next slide, please. And within our Water Beyond Boundaries initiative, what we're trying to analyze is these different boundary states. So for instance, when I'm talking about teleconnections, we want to shift from the more delimited to a more connected boundary states. And this applies as well to ecosystems, so not only human-centric needs and participation as well, not just based on sectors, but trying to have a more inclusive and intersectoral approach. Next slide, please. Yes, you can pass all the animations. So within the Water Beyond Boundaries initiative, we have two main case studies, the Magdalena Cauca in Colombia and the Mekong River Basin in Southeast Asia. I will just give an example of the Magdalena Cauca, which is the largest river basin in Colombia, and how we can apply these concepts that I've just explained in the background. Next, please. Yes, you can pass through all. So here's just one example of how coffee trade flows in this one particular region within the Magdalena Cauca called the Campo Alegre River Basin, which is located in the Risaralda department in Colombia. As you can see, just 5.3% of that coffee will remain in Colombia itself, but most of it will be exported. So for instance, to the United States, to Germany, etc. And this region also faces different types of coffee production. Some of them is organic, and it's a very important economic activity with 24% of representation. But this is, again, a classic example of teleconnections. Next slide, please. And for the research that I was conducting and continue to conduct at the Institute and as part of my MBA, data science, I was interested in two main components. The first one was to create and characterize a network of global coffee trade flows and explore the volume of coffee exported and imported. And the second one, to apply water teleconnections using a topological relationship across the river network. Next, please. So I'll focus on the first component for the network creation. This is a bit of a technical slide, but basically, as a methodological approach, we decided to build a network which can be defined as an order pair in a matrix. And you can direct, for instance, point A, the coffee producer, to point B, whoever is importing that coffee. And it's considered a weighted network because you have a certain volume of coffee that's transported across the importer and exporter. In terms of tools, I think this is what would be most interesting for Geo. I applied two different packages in Python, so NetworkX in combination with GeoPandas, but also later on I processed this information with ArcGIS. So basically trying to combine two different areas in one single analysis. And in the end, what you will have is a weighted network with adjacency matrix. So I'll show you the results. Next slide, please. On your left, well, you can see the adjacency matrix, as I mentioned. This is just a short representation with the 10 major exporters and importers of coffee out of the 80 countries represented. So I used a publicly available data set for that in the Chatham House. And basically, you can, for instance, if you're interested where Brazilian coffee has been imported by or Colombian coffee, you can basically follow the lines and the dots, and you can visualize these networks as well with the coffee trade flows. And this was using GeoPandas from Python. Next slide, please. So I won't go into much detail on that in the interest of time, but it's what I want to show here is that you may start creating some different questions when you combine these tools. So I'm combining the network flow of coffee imports, exports, and I can play with some scenarios. So I can understand which countries are more dependent on others. I can create a set of assumptions. Say, for instance, if I have the two major exporters, Brazil and Colombia, and 6 major importers, we can assume a certain increase of production based on each country's coffee productivity, and we can try to find the maximum percentage of reduction in volume of coffee exports for each selected pair. And of course, you can change the question and make it as complex as you want. But I think what I want to highlight here is that most of this, I mean, all of this information, in fact, was from publicly available data. So I think it's a good way of combining research with data and playing around with the set of assumptions. Next one, please. So next, the first component is done. Now I'll just finalize with the second component, which basically is trying to understand the impact of coffee across the river network. And this is just a scheme for you to see the different tools that we use. ArcGIS, WEAP, which is SCI's water evaluation planning tool, and then a topological analysis that we've created with Excel macro. Next, please. And these are just some examples of maps that you can create. So for instance, what we're showing here, if you see the first map, the areas or municipalities that are colored with red are municipalities that have no coffee production or no significant coffee production. But if you look at the map in the middle for the index of the harvest index, you will see the cumulative impacts of coffee across the region. So for instance, regions that you wouldn't expect to have any cumulative impacts in the river network, you actually see them because of how point A is connected to point B across the river network. So this is basically challenging a bit the concept of using the watershed as the sole unit of analysis. You might end up with cumulative impacts that you haven't foreseen before. And just to finalize with the conclusions, next please. Next. Is that the first component, as I've shown, the network analysis can provide a set of tools to evaluate different scenarios, especially for global events or global drivers, such as commodity trading. And in the last example from component 2, we have seen that the watershed approach may be too large for analysis or of small scale, or too small to address connections at the global scale or regional scale, such as the global coffee trade flows. That would be all. Next slide, please. So if you want to know more information about this, you can reach me out via email, and I can share the link to the full publication. Thank you again.
Thank you, Claudia. And since we started a bit late, I'm going to use my moderator privileges and ask that we extend for a little bit so we can go ahead and hear from our last presenter. So our last in-person presenter will be Fifi Ododo, is a graduate of Université Paul Sabatier with a master's in physical oceanography and applications and a PhD in glaciology on understanding and improving the physics of measurements of the altimeter and radiometer satellites on Antarctica ice sheet. Fifi is interested in the promotion, awareness, and popularization of scientific research, particularly oceanography in Africa. He co-created the GOLF Ocean Association, an NGO to provide a legal framework and a platform of discussion for African early career ocean professionals to gain visibility and promote this science towards stakeholders. He is currently working as a market development and outreach officer at Mercator Ocean International, the implementer of the Copernicus Marine Service, on developing the user uptake of the Copernicus Marine data. He is also involved in GeoBlue Planet activities and is a use case expert. Over to you.
Thank you, Albert, for the opportunity, for having me and giving me the opportunity to give a brief overview of GeoBlue Planet on who we are, what we do, and how we engage youth. So GeoBlue Planet is the ocean arm of GEO that aim to ensure the sustainable development and the use of ocean and coastal observation data for the benefit of the society. We do this by working with the stakeholders to understand their needs and connect them with available data. We built also tools that meet their needs, the stakeholder needs, and work with them to strengthen their capacity to extract informed information from this data. GeoBlue Planet Secretariat have three offices. The US office held by NOAA and led by my colleague, Dr. Emily Ismail. The European office is led by Mercator within the project EU for Ocean Ops. And recently we have the Asian office, which is held by KMI, Korea Marine Institute. So within the GeoBlue Planet, we have three main core actions area. The first one is the stakeholder engagement. This core area is geared toward understanding or to identify what are the stakeholder needs and priorities. We do this by setting up outreach materials, setting up symposium and workshops. The second core action is cooperation and co-design. So this core area action is designed toward improving or developing solutions for stakeholders using through cooperation and co-design between scientists, intermediate, and end users. And at the end, the capacity development core action is designed to develop global solutions that are based on ocean and coastal observation to handle with the problematic we have for operational capability. So with data, air observation data provide information, but there is a challenge to extract the usable and actionable information through this data. So there is need of science skills. So to do this, GeoBlue Planet has set up several programs to bridge the gap between the ocean observation data and end users by providing actionable information. So now I will, to get through this project, I will present to you a little bit what we are doing to engage youth. So early this year, we organized a hackathon called Ocean Data Challenge for Africa, which brought male participants to provide solutions to address challenge in ocean and coastal environment in Africa. This event brought more than 200 participants from almost 50 countries to build a solution for the society in Africa. So, to strengthen and sustain the commitment of youth, we have created, beyond this event, we have created the Ocean Africa community, which is an open community to share knowledge, to keep up updates and connect youth by sharing information, knowledge, and opportunities. So feel free to join us by scanning the QR code, and you will be part of this community. Last week was held the 5th GeoBlue Planet Symposium in Accra. That's the first time this GeoBlue Planet signature event is organized in Africa. So that was a big and huge event. This year's symposium themes was local action in support of global transition. So this event is geared toward improving GeoBlue Planet's engagement with African institutions, in an effort to expand the Earth observation community practice to strengthen local capacity and provide access to resource, tools, and services. So this event brought almost 200 participants from 16 countries. We had such an interesting and insightful discussion and dialogue who allow us to collect a quite lot of useful and usable information that can help us improve our future activities. In terms of engaging youth, GeoBlue Planet have imposed to have one air carrier ocean professional in all of as one of co-chair of our all working group. We also support ECOPS to actively participate in meetings. So, despite all these efforts at the GeoBlue Planet level, there is still much to be done. So, these are my requests for Geo, these are my requests. So, if, as they, I think that I'm moving forward in advance, replying to the question we have, but I want to go through. What I need, or GeoBlue Planet needs from Geo is to promote our yearly career activity with members countries, is connect our each yearly career group with other Geo yearly career group, and support meetings and network platforms. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for those great presentations. Unfortunately, I do think that we are at time, and I do not want to keep this group from lunch. I know that is a hard hour to combat with. Unless, Giosec, do you think we have time for one quick question, or we need a break? Go ahead. Okay. So I believe all the presentations and contact information will be provided following this event. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to our panelists directly. And for those of you who have joined us in person, I invite you to come up to the stage after we conclude and ask and talk with the panelists one-on-one. So with that, let's give up another round of applause for our panelists for joining us today. And I believe that is it, so thank you all for joining.